All right. I am here with Barbara Lynn Probst. My name is Amy Impellizzeri. I'm the host of I Know How This Book Ends virtual book club. And Barbara is the debut author of a beautiful novel called Queen of the Owls. Barbara, I loved this book and I'm so thrilled to talk to you about it. But I wanted to just take an opportunity before our book club to have a little conversation with you about this book. And primarily, I would love to hear about the inspiration behind the story. Why don't you give a little blurb about what this book is about?
Happy to. Thank you, Amy. Well, first of all, there's no owls in the book. I do get these questions from people. When did you start getting interested in owls? So no owls, no owls. The owl is a sort of metaphor for my protagonist, who's kind of this brainy bookworm type. And she both embraces the beauty of being what she is, and also, of course, learns to be more than just that. So, okay, that's the first part. So the inspiration for the book, we draw on, I drew on my own life. It is not a thinly disguised memoir. But of course, you dig deep into the stuff that you've been exploring your whole life and find a way to translate it into fiction. So I really feel
I
like—
always say just because it's fiction doesn't mean it's not true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have another book coming out next year, but I feel like this was the book that I really was meant to write. Like,
Oh,
I think there's probably one book like that in each of us that is really very close to the heart.
yes.
So it's been awesome how people have responded to the book. There's nothing, it doesn't get any better than that.
I think that's amazing. I have that book too. It's my second book. So good for you for arriving there in your debut. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been
And
really—
the book follows a woman's journey as she's discovering truths about herself, about her marriage, about her journey, and while she's doing this, she is studying. She's preparing her dissertation on the life and art of Georgia O'Keeffe, and something very specific, which I did not know about Georgia O'Keeffe, was her time in Hawaii. That she spent this very short but probably pivotal time in her life in Hawaii, in which she was not doing what we sort of think of her sort of traditional or sort of what we think about Georgia O'Keeffe and the desert art, and she was doing, well, she was sent there by Dole Pineapple, which I think is fascinating, right, to paint pineapples, and she was painting these like sort of lush, fertile landscapes and paintings, and I didn't know about that. So I think, so was that something, were you always interested in Georgia O'Keeffe, or did you study her in the context of writing this book? Tell me about that.
I know, the whole thing was so wild. So I had this little idea about this one particular O'Keeffe painting that I'd always loved, which, by the way, I actually got to see during the course of my research. That it's not on view, but I was able to arrange a private showing. Just me and this painting was amazing.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Oh, wow.
But it's not on view. Anyway, so I had this little tiny idea noodling, and it was part of a discarded book. One of those books that, thank God will never be published, but there was this tiny scene in it that just stuck with me. So I really didn't know that much about O'Keeffe, and I started Googling, and I discovered this Hawaii thing, which I didn't know either. So here's one of the magical things that happened, of many magical things. So I'm Googling O'Keeffe, and I get interested in this Hawaii, and I find out that her Hawaii paintings were going to be shown together for the first time in 80 years, in 3 weeks, a half an hour from where I live.
Oh my goodness.
Is that wild?
Yeah, so that is wild.
It was one of these things that happened. It was, like I said, it was really magical. So the more I had the bones of the story, I had a plot, but the more I began learning about O'Keeffe, it informed the story and enriched it and showed me certain things that I hadn't known at the beginning needed to happen. So it was really a kind of parallel process. So yeah, it was, and of course, it's not about O'Keeffe. O'Keeffe doesn't walk across the pages. It's not a historical novel, but O'Keeffe is like the muse or the mentor, or the avatar. And one of the things that was very important to me is that my protagonist, she doesn't abandon the roles she plays. She's a good mother. She's a sister. She's a teacher. She's a colleague. And she has to learn that how to be a friend, let's say, to her husband, even if she won't. Well, I don't want to spoil the book. But anyway, the idea, I already just did. But anyway, the idea is that we play these roles, but there's something else behind the roles that is this true self yearning for expression, yearning to breathe. And that to find that, I think so many of us feel that the roles are part of life, but there's something else. So that's really what my story is about.
Yeah, yeah. And I love too, there's this really interesting subplot about the art and the interpretation of art and the projection of our own experiences and ideas upon the art and the artist, that I loved, that I thought was really interesting. And again, I don't want to give too much away about the protagonist finds herself the subject of art in the book, and just that whole journey of sort of people trying to project what they think the meaning of that art is, and her sort of resisting that. And I think that's really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting part of the story.
Well, I would just say two quick things about that. One is, of course, what Elizabeth, my protagonist, really yearns for is to be seen, to reveal herself, and to be really seen and known. So of course that's visual art is about that. And the other thing that you alluded to, I had to walk a kind of fine line because the interpretations of O'Keeffe might not be 100% accurate scholarly, from a scholarly point of view, but they're O'Keeffe as seen through Elizabeth's eyes.
Right.
What she needs O'Keeffe to be, or what
Right.
O'Keeffe, how O'Keeffe is a force for transformation for her. So this isn't, a biography. There have been great biographies already written of Georgia O'Keeffe.
Right,
but
right.
I she lived 100 years, well, the story, when she came upon the art world 100 years ago, and she's as fresh and as powerful and as meaningful to us now as ever, which is really amazing.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, I thought that was really fabulous. So tell me about the cover. So the cover incorporates a really beautiful, yeah, good. I'm glad you have the book because I have it on my Kindle and it doesn't present as well on the screen. So hold that up again. So this incorporates,
no?
No, it's not. It's good.
Oh,
it's good. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about what your vision for the cover was. Did this match it? Did you have any input? Tell me about how the cover came to be.
Well, it's kind of funny because when the designer came up with this idea, I hated it.
Oh!
I hated it. I thought it was messy and it wasn't what I had in mind. And luckily I have two very good friends who said to me, "You're out of your mind, Barbara. This is a great cover."
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I pictured.
Interesting.
But the designer, she's really a genius. Give a plug for Julie Metz. She had this idea of using an O'Keeffe painting as the background. So we had to find one that we could get permission to use.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's gorgeous. But the lesson learned for me is that your story, I think you have to hold true to your vision. But there are parts of turning that story into an object called a book that where you might have to let go of your ideas and listen to the professionals who might really open your eyes. So I'm so glad that her idea of the cover was the one that got used.
And it's hard, right? Because you want to help your story find its way to others, and sometimes in order to do that, you have to let go a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, again, I think it's kind of again, there's things that you really cannot compromise, and
Yeah.
other things where you have to just be flexible and loose, and be open to what you might not have thought of.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's been interesting.
that's a good segue to my next question, which is, what surprises have you found in being a debut author? Tell me about your experience. First of all, debut author, that's huge, but to release your book during these challenging times is
Yeah.
totally unprecedented for all of us, including those of us who have had books out before. So tell me about surprises that have been particular for you in releasing this book.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's the same theme, which is let go and open to whatever is in front of you. Like there was one event that I had worked so hard. It was my dream event at Ghost Ranch in Santa Fe with the whole O'Keeffe community. It was going to be this great
Yeah.
big dream come true. Well, I had to give it up.
Yeah.
And so you can either be sad or you can be free. So I found this very liberating to just enter into this time and try to let go. And the other thing that's been very odd, and I think most of us don't talk about this, which is a weird sort of guilt that I'm celebrating, I'm enjoying, and yet people are suffering and dying. So I've had to really find my way in that and accept that I'm offering a gift, and that if I feel guilty about it or apologize for it, that's not going to find a cure for COVID. So really to somehow still move forward in this very strange, does that make sense, Amy?
Yes, 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 absolutely. No,
You
I
know,
know
so yeah, go ahead.
it is. It's a fine line, like you say. It's a fine line, and yet people are thirsting for art and good news as well during this time. So it's very difficult. I know, but I'm glad that I'm glad you did not pull the book. I'm glad you didn't postpone it. I think it's a really beautiful book for this time. And I've talked to a lot of readers who are finding it difficult to find, and who are, their taste in books are changing daily and weekly, and are finding it difficult to even find time, not time, but find the quiet and the space to read during these times. But this is a good book, I think, that will help people do just that. I found this to be a very quieting book, it was a really good book for these times. So I think this was a really wonderful addition.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I do feel that I have something to offer. And you
Yeah,
have to really believe that it's not about ego. It's just you're a vehicle for something, and you're giving it.
yeah,
And really to hold to that. It's not about
yeah,
me. It's about here's something that I feel can really speak to people. And so far it has, and that is,
yeah.
as I said, it's so meaningful to me. It's just
Yeah, it's gotten wonderful press. You've had wonderful press, wonderful buzz. Congratulations on all of that. It's well deserved. And I've been thrilled to see it. Thank you
yeah.
so much. I'm thrilled that you're going to be at our book club tonight, and everybody should check out Queen of the Owls. It is available. And when was the official release date?
This April 7.
April 7th. You're right. So it's fresh, it's new on the market, and available in all the places that you're buying and downloading books. So go find it. And thank you so much, Barbara. Can you give us a little sneak peek about what you're working on now?
Sure. I have actually a book coming out in a year, and this book is framed around music and the piano.
Oh, how fun.
And I'm actually a serious amateur pianist. So
Oh, I love that.
I have this whole sort of theme about how art can help us to be more fully human.
Hmm.
And so this has really been fun. So that's
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah.
We'll look for that next year. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you very much. I'll
Thank you.
talk to you
Pleasure.
soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.